Yes, if you've never heard of the word genotype, you probably have heard of the word sickle cell. But even if you haven't heard that, around these parts, the word SS is very common. When you say somebody is SS, the first thing you think is this person is on death row, that in no time this person will be dead. Now, I have a guest who is an SS and has lived for almost 5 decades. But beyond that, what SS has done to her, both physically and emotionally, haven't dampened her spirit or spoiled anything about her life. How much she enjoys her life that she lives, we don't know. But one thing I know she's not happy about is the fact that most buildings in this country are still to be what? No, okay, look, let me welcome Toyin Adesola, first of all, to the studio. So I don't speak too much English. My guest is Toyin Adesola.
Thank you, Adesola.
It's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
And we've known each other now for almost 8 years, 10 years.
Yes,
and you know, the first time we met was because you wrote a book that's titled
Still Standing.
Still Standing.
Yes.
And that Still Standing was a summation of your life story, and that people thought you were still standing then at 40 or close to 40.
Yes, 40 then.
At that time. You didn't know you would live that long. It's nice to have you on this show.
Thank you.
Today we are seriously speaking about your life.
Yes.
Your life as an example for others to see that regardless of what it is that it throws at you, you can do something at it.
Yes.
And so what's that thing you were telling me earlier about your anger that most buildings in this country are not what?
They are not disability friendly at all. Mm-hmm. Recently, I was even in a newly built building because I give or take, the older buildings don't have that facility yet. But this was a newly built building. And there was a program that I had to climb about 3 flights of stairs.
Wow,
to
and then
get
you
to
go
it.
with a cane?
Yes. Mm-hmm. And to top it all, there was no toilet upstairs. You had to come back all the way downstairs to use the loo. So it was really frustrating. And I see that with a lot of, I even use a cane. What about people who use wheelchairs? So you find out that most of them are homebound because of these challenges.
So it's very annoying.
Yes,
there should be, I mean, again, this time, I think government says that, I mean, at least at the national level, I've heard things like they're going to be more inclusive with things that taking the care of the people with disabilities.
Exactly. Even there's the Lagos state law that buildings, in terms of the planning, should be accessibly friendly. But, you know, like in all things in Nigeria, is their enforcement, trying to enforce the law so that people would comply by it.
Now, well, this is not about buildings. This is about you, the building that God has built. And you have a disability.
Yes.
As a result of your sickle cell disease.
Yes, I do.
Tell me about that.
When I was about 17 or so, I had what you call a vascular necrosis of the bone, which is...
Slow down.
A vascular necrosis of the bone. It's more of a breaking down of your bone, which makes it soft and easily breakable. So I had an issue in the hospital. I had an infection. And then one day I decided to, I was bedridden for about over 3 weeks. So the traditional thing is that you're supposed to turn the patient so that they don't get bed sores. And thank God for our federal hospitals, they didn't turn me. So I decided to do the turning because I was getting really sore at that spot. And the next thing I had a snap. And when I told the nurse, I was screaming in pain. She didn't believe me. She just said, "Oh, take Panadol." So it was until my father came in the evening because he's a medical. They now rushed me to the theater and found out that my hip had separated from the socket. So I had to be in a cast for about 6 months. Then I started using the crutches and stuff. So since then, I've been having this limited disability in trying to move around and stuff like that. Around
here, that's double jeopardy because you had lived at 17. You were a sickler, and you had lived 17 years with that being a sickler.
Yes.
What were the worst times about being a sickler?
Not being able to do much. My parents were very protective, understandably, because they were afraid that, oh, anything I do that is strenuous, I'll be in the hospital. And during that period, when I was growing up, the hospital was almost like my second home. When you talk about blood transfusion, I always say I've had over 100 blood transfusion to date. And so...
And 5 surgeries, I think.
Yes, 5 surgeries. And so they were a bit protective. So a lot of things that you typically would do at that age, growing up, playing outside with your friends, was not as it should be. So I was more of a homebound person. So seeing my friends, seeing my sister doing all those things, it was a bit frustrating because I wanted to, I'm a very active person. and I'm a very dogged, I have a dogged spirit. Sometimes my parents used to say I'm stubborn, but I just believe it's doggedness and resilience because I just believe that nothing should stop me from achieving what I want to achieve. So seeing that at that period in time, I was like, wow, there's a lot of things I can't do. In fact, my educational process was disrupted because of that.
Is that always the case with sicklers?
Well, it varies. It varies because one thing I tell people, each person's experience with sickle cell is different. There are some people that are more blessed not to even have as much crisis as others because of certain issues from fetal hemoglobin, and it's too technical, but there are different, different things that make people's experience with sickle cell different. So you can have, we have this stereotype that the person with sickle cell has a sickly look, thin, but there are people who are plump and fat that have sickle cell. There are people who are tall, yes, that have sickle cell. And so it's not a determining factor to know whether the person has sickle cell a lot. That's why you even find a lot of people hiding it because it's convenient. They easily, nobody will suspect. But then again, our experience, as I said, is different. Yeah.
Now, your father is a professor, was a professor in Unilag.
Yeah.
Your mother was a nurse.
Yeah.
Your father is medical. And then that means they were both AS.
Yes.
So, did they know they were AS?
Not at that period. In fact, I think it was just one doctor in the whole of Lud that managed to figure out, because this was 1965. Sickle cell wasn't really that known as it is a bit now. So I think it was one doctor in the Lud that finally figured out what was wrong with me.
Especially because you have a sister.
Yes,
they had a child before they had you.
Yes, exactly.
And she seemed okay.
Yes.
So they didn't have any reason to imagine that.
Exactly.
But did they ever feel guilty? Your father is late now, but your mom is still alive?
Yes.
She's still going strong?
Very strong.
So did they ever feel guilty about that?
I don't think so. I wouldn't know anyway.
You should ask them. You should have asked them. Did you feel guilty? Did you feel responsible? Because that's one of the well, did they ever feel? You don't know.
No, I don't know. I don't really think so. I think they were more worried. As I said, they were very protective. In fact, something I used to fight because I'm very dogged, and so. But I wouldn't say they were guilty. They felt guilty because of the way they even treated me. Yes, they were protective, but still they treated me like a regular person. I see families, the way they treat their children with sickle cell, and they do it as if to say they're a burden to them, that is their fault that they came into the world, whereas they're the ones who give back to them. And I did not have anything like that.
Now, your sister is AA, and then you are SS. How wicked can life be? She could have borrowed you one S. I mean, did she ever say, can I give you one S?
Well, I know my
A?
sister was, she's somebody who had really felt, when I was in pain, she's somebody who felt for me. She couldn't handle when I was in pain. And I'm sure she could have done that if she could have. But I always say something. I said, I have a strong spirit and a strong will compared to her.
So SS SS, strong spirit.
Yes, that's true. So I think everything, I always say that your challenges are your stepping stone to success. So yes, life throws you a curveball, but it's what you make of it that is important. And I've never for once regretted. In fact, I told somebody that maybe if I didn't have this story, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing today. Maybe I'll be doing something.
Because you run an NGO now that's called
Sickle Cell Advocacy and Management.
And the reason you started that is not just because you're a sickler, but the stories that you've heard, like you say.
Yes, exactly.
The misinformation that exists.
Exactly, especially when I brought out the book. And because when I brought out the book, I said sometimes we live in a cocoon, we think we are the only ones with the problems in the whole world. But by the time I brought out the book, I realized that there are a lot of issues that hadn't been addressed with people living with sickle cell, and that's how I started the NGO. Are
the numbers of sicklers growing in Nigeria?
Yes.
And this is because?
Because people don't take, one, they don't know understand the ramifications of knowing your genotype. Two, people have been giving wrong genotypes. Three, people don't take the thing seriously. I was watching a Vox Pop someday, and my friends living with sickle cell in diaspora were like, what's going on in Nigeria? And you heard people saying, oh, I don't need to know my genotype. That's not that all I have to do is to lay my hand on my wife's stomach and everything will be okay. We use faith to cover a lot of things, and ignorance, thinking that, because we're always thinking more of from the end of the couple, oh, I love him, or he loves me and all that. But we don't realize, I've seen marriages being destroyed because they don't realize the challenges they're going to face. Nobody has told them to understand that this thing is not just about you, it's about what the child is going to be going through on a regular basis.
Do you still experience crises?
Oh, yes. I even had one 2 days ago.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So, but now you know what to do. It's like, clockwork.
Oh, yeah. I'm used to it, so I know what to do. I even know when it comes, I know, oh, I suspect I didn't do this, I didn't do that.
So what are the basic things that people must know, for example?
Well, one of the major things is not to avoid both emotional and physical stress. If a lot of people focus on the physical, but we forget the emotional. And I always tell them, the worry brings you a lot of issues. Then secondly, drink plenty of water and take the medications that have been prescribed for you regularly as much as possible and eat healthy.
By God's grace, we're going to celebrate your 50th very
soon.
And then we'll throw a party and shut down Lagos. Hopefully your TV show would have started.
Yes, I hope so
wish you all
too.
the best on that.
Thank you.